like Dr. Frankenstein. New life is created from discarded bits and pieces. This is the domain of Rowland Emett, the ditchling tinkerer.
It has just been fully restored after lying in storage for almost 15 years. It is an example of English art and English offbeat humour at their quintessential best. It is the largest and, in his own view, the best artwork by the eccentric, irrepressible Englishman, Rowland Emett.
In Battersea Park, cartoonist Emmet sees his craziest dream come to life and calls it Neptune just in time as the first passengers arrive at Oyster Creek Station.
Rowland Emett shot to international fame 60 years ago when he created his now famous train line, the Far Tottering and Oyster Creek Railway, for the Festival of Britain at Battersea Park in 1951.
The trial run begins.
It carried over 2 million passengers at the festival and earned its construction cost back in less than 3 weeks. Rowland Emett is one of England's greatest modern-day artists. Born in 1906, he studied art in Birmingham before becoming a draftsman during the Second World War, working on the design of aircraft, including the now legendary Lancaster bomber. When not contributing to the design of English warplanes, Emmet began to create intricately detailed, humorous cartoons. These would usually depict wildly imaginative flying machines, trains and other machinery that seemed to echo Victorian architecture and practicality, whilst at the same time conjuring up a magical world where machines were capable of helping people to do just about anything. His cartoons were quickly published by Punch magazine and, after a short while, earned him the position of resident cartoonist at the magazine. But when the Festival of Britain organisers commissioned him to make some of his machines for real, Emmett's life changed forever. After the success of the Far Tottering and Oyster Creek Railway at the festival, he was commissioned to create the Honeywell Forget-Me-Not computer, the Slumberland Hushabye bed, and a series of other whimsical, light-hearted pieces of art whose purpose was almost entirely, quite simply, to make people smile.
All that to clean carpets?
Away with sweeping and away with brushing and away with dirty carpets.
Perhaps most famous of Emmett's work was the commission by United Artists to design and create the hair-brained machines of inventor Caractacus Potts in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the 1968 film based on Ian Fleming's phantasmagorical children's story.
Jeremy?
Oh, good.
Emmet and his team continued to produce elaborate and unique commissions for public and private sector clients throughout the 1960s and 70s. And in 1984, the Far Tottering and Oyster Creek Railway was reprised when he built the last of his machines, or things, as he always preferred to call them. A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley is the largest of his works, and is in fact made up of 8 separate machines that together tell a single coherent story. It depicts the tale of a pleasure trip on the Far Tottering and Oyster Creek Railway. The central feature is a train called Wild Goose, driven by an ingenious driver who toasts tea cakes on the firebox as the train trundles along. Behind him is the first-class carriage, occupied by what appears to be a lady of some considerable refinement, accompanied by her grandson who is busying himself catching butterflies with a net. The rear of the train is an open wagon occupied by a railway attendant, playing birdsong through an old gramophone player to accompany the journey. Along the way, the train passes various unusual and entertaining sights. At Cow Parsley Meadow, a farmer plays his harp soothingly to his herd of cows, who nod their heads in appreciation. There is a large water wheel that turns timelessly, its brass cups beaten and misshapen from years of use. And in a secluded dell, there is a beautiful flowering tree on top of which sits a clock, originally intended as the focal point of the whole piece. At Shrimp Haven Sands, a fisherman can be seen out at sea, hauling in a net in which, rather surprisingly, he appears to have caught a mermaid. On the beach, a bathing hut is occupied by an elderly gentleman dressed in full-length Victorian swimwear, who dives dramatically into the water from time to time. As Wild Goose continues on its journey past twittering woods, an ornithologist is seen cycling along with his camera. He is disguised as a tree and has done such a good job at hiding from his quarry that a bird has chosen to make its nest in his bicycle lamp. Finally, for those passengers on Wild Goose whose wishes and dreams are not yet met, there is a wishing well, complete with a typically Emmet-esque leaking bucket. Constructing his machines out of discarded kettles, drain pipes, lampshades and other appropriately shaped paraphernalia that he picked up in antique shops, Emmett's ingenuity was unbounded. And the level of detail he injected into each of his creations was something that audiences worldwide have been smiling about for over 50 years. A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley was originally commissioned as a landmark clock and was destined to adorn a new shopping area in Basildon, England. But by the time the artwork was completed in 1984, those plans had changed. It was bought instead by the present owner and was not exhibited until 1992 in Spitalfields Market, London. Sadly, Emmet himself had passed away just 2 years earlier, so never saw his greatest masterpiece exhibited in public. When its time at Spitalfields came to an end, A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley was put into what was thought to be safe storage. But in 1999 it was stolen by some enterprising thieves from a warehouse in Hertfordshire. It was sold by the thieves to a scrap metal dealer who became suspicious and alerted the police, so it was, thankfully, recovered. The scrap metal dealer had paid just £100 for it, at a time when the artwork was thought to be worth closer to £250,000. After a 20-year break and following 3 years of meticulous restoration, A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley was once again placed on display during the summer of 2014 in Birmingham's prestigious museum and art gallery. In only its second public outing, Emmett's last and largest artwork was shown in an exhibition entitled Marvellous Machines, The Wonderful World of Rowland Emett. The 8 machines of A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley were joined in Birmingham by the ever-popular surviving Emmet machines from the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang movie, including the Clockwork Lullaby Machine, the Visi Vision Machine, the Hot Air Rocking Chair, Little Dragon Carpet Sweeper, and the magnificent Humbug Major Sweep-Making Machine. In addition, several other examples of Emmett's commissioned pieces were on display at the exhibition, including his enchanting Featherstone Kite openwork, basket weave Gentleman's Mark II flying machine from 1962, the 1970 moored exploratory Lunicycle, inspired by the Apollo missions of the time, and his ingenious 1983 self-golfing Fairway Birdie Mark II golf machine. With A Quiet Afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley as the exhibition's centrepiece, these fantastic machines helped to create a broad montage in which some of Emmett's greatest work could be seen once more by the public. Visitors to the museum, many of whom were residents of Birmingham, could again wonder at the ingenuity, eccentric humour and sheer engineering brilliance of one of Birmingham's greatest former citizens, whose works had largely been forgotten about over recent decades. The organisers had also managed to lay their hands on scores of original Emmet cartoons and drawings, pulling together the largest collection of Rowland Emett artworks ever seen in one place. Like his machines, the cartoons display Emmett's fastidious and almost fanatical attention to detail, which is hardly surprising when one considers that many were in fact working drawings, created as blueprints to help Emmet and his team of helpers in building the final machines. The exhibition charted Emmett's life from his early days in Birmingham to becoming an international figure in the art world. Over a short 4-month summer period, the footfall of visitors to view the exhibition was more than 70% higher than expected by the museum. The exhibition was staged in conjunction with the Rowland Emett Society, a not-for-profit organisation that now comprises hundreds of Emmet enthusiasts from all around the world and whose sole purpose is to keep the memory of Rowland Emett alive. Co-founder of the Society, Tim Griffiths, has been instrumental in discovering the whereabouts of hundreds of previously lost Emmet cartoons, machines and other artworks, and he has worked tirelessly to raise awareness of the artist and his work. The future for Rowland Emmett's machines and other artworks looks exciting. Discussions have even taken place about setting up a permanent Emmet museum in the UK. This would allow not only a quiet afternoon in the Cloud Cuckoo Valley, but also many of his other artworks to find a home in which visitors could continue to marvel at the rich and glorious legacy left to us by one of England's greatest modern-day artists.